Down him. All right, a real challenging one to review because of how similar all these rifles are. The Kar98k sniper rifle, which is actually labeled as a marksman rifle in the game. Let's talk about it. So the way I like to break these guns down, I like to touch on the brief history of the weapon. I like to touch on the damage and performance of these weapons. And lastly, we'll hop into my opinion of this weapon. Now, the reason why I'm finding that the Kar and guns like this are going to be challenging to review is because there's very little that differentiates all of them. The things that differentiate them are very, very minuscule. Long story short, you hit a headshot with any sniper, for the most part, it's a down, unless it's like the Dragunov. I think there's potentially another one. Most of them headshot and have it down. It's going to be little things like how the bolt reloads after every shot, and then how the damage is to the body and the extremities. That's the kind of things that we're going to be looking at between these snipers and when I'm reviewing them. Now, just a little bit of history about the Kar98k. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. I believe it's called the Gavir 43. This gun first debuted in World at War way back in the day. Between the Gavir and the STG 44, if you remember that gun as well, those were kind of the go-tos. But the Kar90k is actually kind of based off of this gun. If you actually look at this gun down to the right here, it kind of looks like the Kar, kind of a slimmer version, but it does look a bit like the Kar. This just being like an auto rifle more than anything, but this is like the realistic versions of those guns. So the Gavir is actually the original version, and then the Kar is based off of the Gavir. Now, a headshot damage, which is obvious, we discussed this earlier in the video, is 250, which would put a player down. A chest shot is 154, and then the stomach and extremities come in at 86 damage. And again, when I'm referring to these numbers, I'm always referring to a player that has full health and full shield, which brings him to 250 HP. So the attachments that I have for the Kar98k, for the muzzle, I'm using the monolithic suppressor. For the barrel, I'm using the Singer 27.6. The laser, I'm using the tack laser. The rear grip stippled grip tape is the one I'm using for the rear grip. Those are all actually what most people would use. If you look at anything online, you're going to see the accuracy and the range. That's kind of what you're focusing on for this weapon. And those are the main attachments you're going to see. And then the sniper scope is what you're going to see most often. But in this scenario right now, whether it's a broken part of the gun or it's just a choice they made to add it to this weapon, I still haven't actually tested with other snipers, which I will in the near future. The variable zoom scope glint on this weapon is actually completely broken. You will not be shining a light towards players when they're looking your way if you are using the variable zoom scope, which is a huge thing to note when you're using this weapon. Make sure you have the variable zoom scope equipped for the Kar98k instead of the sniper scope. So we have our weapon pulled into true game data with all the attachments on it, so you can kind of take a peek and see the effect that all these attachments have on the weapon. If you are curious how effective an attachment is, don't look at it in game, because it's just based off of a phrase and then changing the bars below, the damage bar, the accuracy bar. When you actually pull it into true game data, it gives you the percentage, and I think that can really make a difference between this attachment or that attachment, and I think that's important. And one thing to note here, when you look at the sniper scope, the ADS is plus 42 milliseconds and the horizontal bounce is plus 10%, okay? Which is, it's fine. That's just kind of what you get if you're going to be using a good scope. Going to the variable zoom scope basically jumps up 8 milliseconds in ADS and 5% in horizontal bounce. And honestly, the trade-off isn't that big of a deal. You just picture it for yourself, right? If you're looking for a sniper, the glint is what gives it away. And if you don't see that, you'd actually, many times you don't know where he is, just based off of how the game and how the visuals in the game work. So that's just something really important to note. The trade-off is certainly worth it. So last but not least, let's hop into my opinion of this weapon. Now, I've used other snipers, so this isn't just the only sniper that I use. It is the one that I use primarily right now. Well, for one, because I'm reviewing it and I want to really get the feel for it and see how it performs. But this is the one I've been using primarily throughout playing Warzone. And again, one thing I want to actually let you guys know, I've actually only been playing Warzone since about December. I didn't start playing it till December because I just wasn't actually playing video games at all. So picking up in December, there was a lot that was kind of figured out, and guns to use, guns not to use already at that point. The Kar98k was just kind of the default, like what's the best sniper, and everyone would just say the Kar98k is the best sniper. And I still think to this point that that's the case. We'll see what happens with the coming week with the changes they make in the game. I don't think that this is going to be one of the guns they actually touch on, because I know they're going to be working on a lot of the guns that are overpowered. I don't think that the Kar is overpowered, and I don't think they're going to be touching any of the snipers for that matter. As far as versatility goes, if you watch people that play wager matches, if you watch people that play Warzone far more competitively, the people people who snipe, the people that are very good at sniping in Warzone, are using the Kar98k. The reason for that is exactly because of the versatility of this weapon. The bullet lead isn't crazy to learn. Moving around with it, you don't feel like you have this big clunky gun. And then right now, using the variable zoom scope, those few things added into this weapon, allowing it to perform the way it does, makes this gun the go-to sniper in Warzone right now. Now, again, I will be testing snipers. There's a couple other snipers. I want to test the AX50. I want to continue to use the Pellington, which I've used a bit in the past. Those will probably be the next two that I look at. But as far as overall, the Kar98k is certainly the go-to, and the one thing that's setting it apart in a massive way right now is the fact that it has no glint for the variable zoom scope.